This video describes some of the engineering challenges that went into designing my latest clock, the rolling ball clock. This clock is powered completely using 3/4 inch steel balls, and the clock is completely mechanical, all running off the power of a few steel balls. Hello everyone, I'm Steve, and this is my latest clock, and there was definitely a lot of challenges in designing this clock. There was no reference designs to follow, so there was quite a few things that had to be invented as I went along. So hopefully this video will explain some of the issues that were encountered. One of the first issues was determining how much power is in a single 3/4 inch steel ball. I picked this size just because it felt right. Anything smaller wouldn't have enough mass, and anything bigger would just be overwhelming. Let me turn this clock around for a second. The balls travel through 3 interconnected wheels with multiple pockets to contain the balls. That took a few iterations before I was happy with the design. My first prototype was a very thin design. There's just enough thickness for the ball pockets and some gear teeth so that the wheels stay interconnected. That way, when a ball leaves a pocket, there's a pocket ready to receive it. And the one thing I didn't really care for on this design is the amount of drop when a ball leaves an upper wheel and drops into the second wheel. It loses about 1 inch of drop. And here it's going to drop again. I don't have this completely loaded, but each time the balls drop, they lose about 1 inch. I realized that that was going to limit the amount of energy that the balls can transfer. It also made for a relatively wide design. One of the things I was still working on before I abandoned this design was a mechanism at the top to throttle the balls so that a whole chain of balls at the top doesn't jam the upper wheel. And I think this design is functional. I just never really fully debugged it to make sure it was 100% robust. This ball drop is definitely applying a fair amount of force, which would be enough to power the clock. It just needs to be a little bit taller because of the amount of loss at each transition. So this was my first prototype ball drop. And then I went to a second style that eventually made it into the clock. And this is a much thicker design. I believe that the extra thickness works quite well with the ball drop, the spiral lifter, and the clock itself. It gives a pretty good balance from front to back on the clock. And the way this design works is at each transfer, which is a little bit harder to see, but a ball enters. Let me feed a couple of balls. And then when a ball is ready to exit this pocket into this pocket, it only loses 1 or 2/10 of an inch. So a much more efficient design, even though it does take a little bit more thickness. The next design challenge was a hazard that occurred right as the balls enter the upper ball drop. The original design had the balls sitting below the top of the pocket, and I didn't realize it until I had built the entire clock and then realized that this line of balls lining up right here is going to fall into the shallow depression that's left behind, and the only way for this gear to rotate is to push this other ball out of the way. And that required this entire line of balls to be pushed backwards. And what ultimately ended up happening is this upper ball drop gear was completely jammed up. And I had to rethink that. What I ultimately ended up doing was redesigning it so that the balls sit proud of the pockets. And that way, when the next ball is lined up to go past, there's no depression for that to fall into. It just rides on top of the ball and then onto this shield that's built within the ball drop. And now there's minimal resistance from the chain of balls and essentially no extra friction, no matter how many balls are in this upper ball ramp. After designing the ball drops, I knew that there would be a clock portion. That part to me is fairly straightforward. And then I needed the spiral lifter to be designed. And initially I had that placed at the very back, way back here. Once I realized I can move that to the center, it really balanced the upper ball ramp. And then I decided to make two lower ball ramps that straddles the spiral lifting auger. And then a toggle gate at the exit of the ball drop to alternate between the left and right sides on the lower ball ramp. The overall structure of the clock started to look really balanced. So I really started to like the way it was looking. Another engineering challenge designing this clock was figuring out a method of loading the ball drop, because you can't rotate the ball drop without moving all of the gears in the entire clock. And that causes the escapement to also rotate, and the pendulum limits the rate of the escapement. So all you have to do is break one position in that chain between the ball drop gears and the escapement. The method to get that to work is to remove the pallet, and that allows the escapement to free spin. And that occurs on this clock by removing the pallet, and all of the gears will spin. That will cause the balls to move through the ball drop at a much faster speed than they would normally operate, of one ball every 2 hours. Instead, they're moving one ball every 16 or 17 seconds. So here is a mock-up of the escapement and pallet. And when I test escapements, I test them with grams of weight. I'm very surprised when I see videos on YouTube where people hang a pound of weight off their little model of an escapement. If you need that much energy to power an escapement, your clock would have a runtime of about 20 minutes. The optimum distance from the escapement to the pivot point is simple math, just using tangents from the perimeter of the escapement. There's a diagram in the assembly guide showing that. And in order to make the pallet removable, it was just moved all the way down to the bottom. So this mock-up is running using about 6 grams of weight, and I can remove one washer. Each of these is about 2 grams. So this thing will actually run with about 2.5 grams, but not very robustly, adding just a little bit more weight. And this escapement is running quite robust. It has a shallow amplitude pendulum swing, which is fine. This clock doesn't have a lot of room for side-to-side movement of the pendulum. It still works just fine. So when I test escapements, I'm testing with just a few grams of weight. So that was one of the early experiments to to prove how much weight was going to be needed to run the clock. And then I could run calculations backwards based on 1 ounce of drive weight and an effective drop height. And then I could calculate how many minutes per ball would be required to get this amount of reliability in the escapement. Then the next step was to design the clock itself, and I knew approximately how big this clock could be. I make the dial as big as can be printed on standard size printers, and I use the dial as mounting locations for the arbors, so there's holes in the back of the dial. But to me, this is straightforward clock design, but I have done a lot of optimizations on the gear teeth themselves. And if you're interested in some of those details, I've written an ebook that describes a lot of the optimizations that went into the gear design, and I use these same optimizations in all of my clocks. That allows these clocks to print as cleanly as possible and be very efficient. One final design requirement was figuring out how to print a frame that's this tall on a printer with print beds that are much, much smaller than that. So I would design the frame segments as large components and then add a brake with some alignment tabs and a single screw to hold these pieces together. And this becomes the clock piece. This becomes the frame segment that exists right here. Allows this frame to go together with only one screw at each location. Still takes a lot of screws overall because there's a lot of those junctions, but ultimately the frame is as simple as possible and printable on standard size printers like an Ender 3 or a Prusa MK4. So those are some of the design tricks that went into designing this clock, and hopefully you enjoyed watching some of the things I went through. Check this clock out on my mini factory, and thanks for watching.